The mysterious death of Brandon Lee, or perhaps not. Most people who have seen the classic Hollywood movie The Crow know of the mysterious shooting death of the star Brandon Lee, Bruce Lee's son, which happened as a freak accident while filming the movie. But there are others, call them fringe speculators of the occult, who fully believe that the usual and the overlooked suspect is actually the true star of the show, none other than Badb Catha of the Morrigan. Badb Catha is one of the triple aspects of the Morrigan, famed Irish war goddesses. There is some redundancy and differences that make them appear to be the same, while in fact they are three very separate deities specializing in brutality and war. That's not as surprising as it may seem, given that the entire movie was a spin-off on one of the Morrigan goddesses in particular, Badb Catha, whose translated name is, you guessed it, War Crow. The crow is her emblematic symbol and totem and shape-shifting form. I have seen her up close and personal a few times, once a decade ago while strolling in a park by the bay in Sarasota. She was attended by no less than a murder of 3 of crows, and she swooped down from the pack to within inches of my face, screaming in a supernatural voice. I was in love with her ever since. When I returned home, the huge tree on every side of our house was brimming with a murder of crows, all screaming and cawing in unison. That's the Badb Catha, the War Crow. She is very real and can bend reality, and yes, even murder when she is in the mood. What could have motivated Badb Catha if she is the culprit? Just as the movie depicted a necromantic hero, Badb Catha is likewise able to resurrect the dead to do her battles. She is a necromantic goddess of the dead and the undead. So what would motivate her to destroy Brandon Lee? For starters, casting a male lead as the Crow, which insults her to no end, since she is a sworn enemy of Satan and the late Lucifer. She hates males in general, and that is the assumed reason the 3 joined as one and became a triumvirate of goddesses specializing in killing men, which most soldiers happen to be. As for a companion, that male is ultra-special and immune from her hatred. Instead, like the powers of psychokinesis that all Morrigan have, the power to turn the tide of battle in every direction and to whosoever favor they please, they also possess the ability to create either great financial and material boons or, on their enemies or yours, make sacrifices for the whim of doing so. It's sort of a variant of the I am that I am, rephrased to mean I can that I can, which is how Badb Catha phrased it just now as I'm writing this. And she's not denying that she had anything to do with the mysterious death of Brandon Lee. The motivation, the means, and the method of murder. So there is the motivation, the means, and even the method used by the War Crow goddess, gunfire. She loves nothing more than the sound of machine gun fire and the smell of cordite and sulfur and napalm, to give you a sample of where she heads when shopping for perfume. Sulfur and blood are her favorite essences, one that will endear you to her. All the mass shooting deaths that have gone viral are the result of the Divine Father allowing the Morrigan to begin a new reign of terror on an unrepentant and warmongering mass of Christian hypocrites and political fascists, also her sworn enemies. And again, because it exalts, falsely, a man to the position of God the Father, an unrightful claim that would be honored if true, it's not. Instead, it makes God divide himself like a Hindu one into 3. Oops, no, make that 4 if you count the mother of God that Jesus gave away to the disciple John while dying on the cross. Oh, well, you get the picture, and it's one the Morrigan hate to high heaven. And if you believe that, God the Father himself has unleashed the Morrigan for a time, just like this one, where his anger is fast reaching the boiling point. And rest assured, there will be a 10-to-1 ratio or more of Christians sentenced to hell than ever make it into heaven. 90% or more, according to some who've heard the sentence in near-death experiences. Or you could just ask the Morrigan. The date of the killing, another telltale of the war crow goddess. Then there's the date Brandon Lee died, March 31st, 1993. March on its entrance and exit marked the peak periods in which the Morrigan received sacrifices. So the likely death would have had to have occurred on either March 1st or March 31st. And behold, from March 31st is the exact date of the sacrifice to Badb Catha took place. Imagine a different scenario. They cast a woman in the role. Would Badb Catha, the war crow, have sacrificed her? No. And hence, the mere gender of the lead actor set the stage, pun intended, for the forced sacrificial scene. Finally, there is the actual materials used for the sacrifice, a lead fragment left lodged in the pistol that ended Brandon Lee's life. Lead is the elemental feature of Saturn from which the Morrigan frequently draw their fatalistic powers. All deaths from lead-tipped bullets and like metals are related directly to Saturn, including alloys. Lastly, it was the lead tip from the bullet that caused a ruptured artery which was fatal. The war crow, Badb Catha, is known for death through bloodletting, strokes, and heart attacks. So let's sum up the reason the actual war crow goddess of death may very well have been the key player. The film besmirched her because a male lead was selected. The date of his death is one of the two sacrificial dates sacred to Badb Catha. The means is by a freak lead-tipped bullet lodged in the barrel, pointing to Saturnian sacrifice by Badb Catha, her favorite means of sacrificing soldiers as she pleases. Finally, Saturn is the patron god of the war crow goddess of death.